Hello everybody, and today I'm going to be showing you a game that I played on Lead Chess one day ago, so yesterday, and it was a very interesting game. Let's see what happened in the game. My opponent played knight f3. Now I play pawn to d5, putting pawn in the center. Obviously, putting down the pawn there would be a blunder, so we lose the pawn. And I was expecting g3, which is the move he played, but if he plays anything else, like d4 for example, this is obviously playable, but if you're going to play d4, why not just play in the move 1, right? There's no reason to play knight f6. That's right, knight f3. So g3 is played. I play pawn c5, putting another pawn in the center. And if I go here, with the idea to go here immediately, then you will have this. That's kind of the problem. Since now my c pawn's blocked, which is bad in these structures. So c5 is played. My opponent played bishop g2. I played knight c6, and it seems like here white cannot stop this move pawn e5. But my opponent has his move pawn d4, and the idea is that now I can't go here as we lose a pawn, right? That obviously loses a pawn. So the problem with playing pawn to d4 is that after I take it, which I played in the game, he has to take with either knight or the queen. Now in this case, taking with the queen is a blunder because it would lose the queen. But if you take it with the knight, the problem is, and now I can play pawn e5. Since now the knight's not, the knight's on d4 instead of on f3. So after this move, he traded here, and this is known as the reverse Grunfeld. And the Grunfeld is an opening played with black playing this way and white playing here. But in this case, it is white to move, whereas in normal Grunfeld will be black to move here. So white plays c4, which I think is the most accurate move. Now, if I push this pawn or take it, I lose the rook. So this pawn's hanging, and the rook and the king are both attacked. So I defend it. I play knight f6. And he played bishop to g5. Now, when I was thinking here, by the way, I don't know any theory here at all, is that if he goes bishop g5, then I have this move. And my idea was very simple. I'm at least going to get rid of one of his defenders or move his king to f1. So if he blocks like this, he cannot go, knight c3. And if he goes here, then I might have this idea in the future, pinning the knight, like this. We'll look at that later. In the game, he went here, which now there's no pinning the knight, and I have quite a comfortable position. Now, it's important to note, if he went here, this move is actually a blunder. Because it seems like I can maybe sack the rook, like this, and get an advantage like this. And actually, this is winning for me, since I'm threatening to take the bishop and the rook here. Sorry, I'm trying to take the bishop with the queen, which also threatened the rook. The problem is, well, there's probably many problems, is that after this move, something like a3, or bishop takes, and then a3 or something. The problem is a3, and then there's other moves as well that work for white. But that one line that I calculated actually wins for black, which is if they take, and then, Okay. But if I didn't play that, probably I would just castle or something. Anyways, in the game, he played bishop to d2. I took that guy, and he took with the queen, since he wants to put his knight on c3. Right, when it puts it here. And here I castled. Now, some people might argue, why would you castle right now? Well, you gotta castle at some point. There's no reason not to castle right now. Play knight c3, and again, like, he's pressuring my center, but he doesn't have a bishop on g5, which made my position very comfortable. And here, here's a very important time in the game. Since, maybe he wants to put his rook on d1 and pressure my pawn a lot. And now this is a very important part of the game. Now this was a blitz game, so I didn't calculate everything. I played pawn d4. My idea was that, in the game he went here, but if he took here, my idea was that I can take like this. Now, the engineer suggests that, you can just take this, and after they trade queens, and then take my rook, then there's pawn takes like this, and rook b1, And there's only one winning move here for black. The rook is targeting the bishop. I don't want to promote my pawn, so bishop to f5 is winning. It's targeting the rook and the bishop at the same time. I'm going to win back the pieces. I'm going to win back his sacrifice exchange. So let's go back here. God, if I remember how to set this board up correctly. There we go. So in the game, he played this move. And I thought, I'll just take this guy. And wait, this rook is here, actually. There we go. And this queen's here. I thought this position must be better for me, since I have a better pawn structure. I want to play pawn c5, but it loses a rook. And it will always lose a rook, so the bishop's always going to be on the diagonal. I don't want to trade off the darks for bishops, since mine is definitely going to be better. After I play like f5 in the future, and like this move, this bishop is going to be very terrible, which eventually happened in the game. So I don't want to trade darks for bishops. I don't want to go here, and push. Instead, I would rather keep my bishop and try to push this pawn by moving away the rook, right? So the move I played was queen b6. Okay, so bishop's still here. I played queen b6. This rook's not here. The idea of this move, also queen's here. What am I doing? My idea of playing queen to b6 was very simple. I wanted to get my queen out, and I wanted to develop my bishop, and I wanted to bring my rook to the game. And then I wanted to play this move, pawn c5. So I had a long-term plan of strengthening my center even more. Now, white has a really neat plan here, which we missed, because this is a blitz game, and it's a move pawn c5. And the idea is that, now I cannot play pawn c5, and if I take this, now you can definitely not play pawn c5. You just bring a rook to the game, and this is probably just equal. The engine still says black is better, but who cares? I think that's fine for whites. But in the game, he played, I think, just castles here. Castling. It's reasonable. I play bishop d6. And again, see pawn c5 is possible here, sacrificing a pawn temporarily, and then you can bring the other to the game. But he played pawn to b3, which is, I don't know what b3 does. I guess it defends the pawn. That's the only reasonable thing it does. And yeah, here I decided to bring a rook to the game. I played rook to d8, kind of targeting the queen. He played rook c1. I played now pawn to c5. And already I probably have a winning structure here. I think actually I played this move somewhere. I don't remember exactly, but it was something like this. And already I think I have a winning structure. So his bishop looks good, but it's not doing much. These pawns on a2 and on b3, they look kind of weak. But I think the biggest weakness for whites, or the strength of me, is that I can just push these pawns forward in the future, and they're going to be passed pawns, and I'm going to win the endgame. So if I get rid of all the pieces and I only have like rooks, or only have the bishops or something, then this is probably winning for black, since the structure is greatly favoring black. That's for sure. I mean, this bishop doesn't look very good, but after I get, maybe some a5, a4 thing going on, then these pawns are going to be targeted by the bishop. So in the game, my opponent played this move, rook e1, which is a weak move. I decided just to push forward, pawn to d4. And I have a completely winning structure here. My opponent played queen 2. f4 here. I guess the idea is to try to infiltrate. I didn't see the reason behind this move. I just played rook to d7, trying to double the rooks or doing something on the d file, trying to push forward with this move. And then he played this move, and this is kind of annoying. Since I want to have a very flexible position, my queen cannot move to a4, for example, which is something I would want to do. And I don't want to really defend my bishop either, since, well, I can. I also would like to play queen to c7 when I exchange queens, but I decided to just play rook d8, trying. In this position, after I played rook d8, with the idea to push this pawn forward, my opponent played this move. And I guess his idea was I just moved the f rook, it was defending the pawn, now my pawn is undefended, right? So maybe I would miss that. I didn't miss it, I played pawn to g6. Now, some of you might think that my king is unsafe, but it's not, because he doesn't have any attack at all. The problem in his position is that I just have, like look at this position, right? I have a wall of pawns here. I have a pawn here, by the way, if you can't see that. I have a wall of pawns. There's no way he can break through. Because if he goes something like this, hoping that I take, I will just push like this, and guess what? I have a winning pass pawn here. And if it pushes the other way, then I have this move. And the problem for him is that I'm threatening to push, and then getting this pass pawn, right? Sacking a pawn to push. And it is like that. And everything works in my favor because I have this extremely strong center, right? So another way of saying it, an attack on the flank is countered by an attack in the center, right? So there's no attack for him here. So after I played pawn to b6, which obviously permanently defends my pawn, he played this move pawn to f3, which I don't know, again, what f3 does. I guess this idea is that he's trying to take me, but I just push this guy forward, pawn to e3, and he played pawn to f4, which I think is a weak move, because why would you go f4? It doesn't do anything in the position. I would rather keep the pawn here. Maybe you want to open up like this, but my position is so solid and just superior that I don't think anything he does will work. So he played pawn to f4, and here I was quite unsure of what to do, as you probably can be in these positions. But in the game, I decided just to bring my king forward, defend the bishop. Now my queen has more movement again. You can see my king's on f7, but you can see here that there's nothing he can do to really try to open up a lot. And even if he goes for some sacrifices like this, there's, like, my king's not going to get checkmated. And if my king's not going to get checkmated, then, well, he's going to put his pieces here. I'm just going to mate him like this. And my attack is way faster than his. So here he played this move. And I was thinking, you know what, let's play queen to c7. Now, I actually completely missed queen d6 for some reason, but queen to c7 seems very reasonable. And here is pretty much forced to trade queens. Now, the engine here, I think, suggests that I should try to trap the queen, but it was a fucking blitz game. What do you expect me to do? And we traded queens, and we got into this endgame here, where the engine says that I'm winning, completely winning here. My opponent put the bishop back. By the way, this is obviously. My opponent put the bishop back. The bishop's not really that good. And here there's a very instructive move, because how do you go forward in the position? Now, what you need to think of here is not to try to attack where your opponent's good, because these rooks, they aren't that great, and I might be able to win by pushing these pawns right now. But the problem is that after I push this, he just takes this, and he actually does have some defense, right? Even his king is there. So I played pawn to a5. My idea is that I want to win a pawn, basically. I want to play a4, take this pawn, and after he recaptures, I want to attack this very, very weak pawn, and that was my idea. And after pawn to a4, he decides to play bishop f3, which I guess is just a waiting move. I guess this idea is that he wants to play g4 at some point. I bring my rook to h7. He played king g2, and I decided to go for this break immediately. And yeah, this is very, very instructive here, attacking on two flanks at the two places at the same time. And you can see there's very little that he can do in this position. He cannot attack anywhere. The only kind of pawn break he has is g4, which he actually tried to play for. And I didn't really see that he was going to go for anything dangerous, but that's kind of a mistake probably by me. And you can see here, eventually I actually make a mistake. And here I play rook b8, and suddenly you can't really quite defend the b3 pawn here. Here the engine suggests rook d3, but he played rook to b1, which is a mistake. I played rook a3 here, and I'm about to at least win one pawn. And he played pawn to g4 here, and here is where I make my first mistake of the game. Now, if you look at the engine analysis, this is just winning better, better, better for me, but here I make my first mistake. But I didn't know why this was a mistake during the game. But now, at least I learned something. I decided to take this pawn on g4. Now, the engine suggests just to take the pawn here, but I decided to trade here and then capture with this rook like this. And here, the problem with taking this is that he has the H file. That's the problem. And he has ideas of going here, bringing this rook back, here, bringing this rook here. And even though I'm up a pawn, this is going to be equal, actually, or slightly better for me. That just has like minus 0.6 or something, so it's still better for me, but it's not completely winning for me. But obviously, that didn't happen in the game. He did not try to go for counterplay along the H file. He decided just to trade rooks, which is a big mistake. I said he should try to, use the A and H files. And I took back, obviously. And here he played a big mistake. Here, the engine suggests just king g3. But instead of that, he played bishop to d5, which is a very bad move. I don't know why he did this. Now I just have pretty much an automatic win. And after this trade, I played this move, which surprisingly enough is also a mistake. The engine here suggests simply going king a7. I don't know why I didn't play king a7 here, but I decided to just go here instead, bringing the rook to b2, and he played here, bringing the king to the game, which I guess is reasonable. And I pushed this pawn forward, and my idea was here, this must be winning for me, right? I mean, I have these really strong pawns. My king can stop this pawn at any moment, and this must be winning, right? The engine finds counterplay, as it always does, and it goes like rook h1, and my king's... I can see that in a world this might be equal, but this is never going to be winning for whites, unless I mess up somehow. But he didn't play this move in the game. Instead, he played this move, attacking my pawn, which is a big blunder. And now I push it forward, and the problem now is that rook h1 is not the best move, but my pawn is way quicker than his. And he played now this move, and here is another mistake that I made, and I think, probably Capablanca would not make these mistakes. But I decided to take this pawn. The best move here is rook d2, and I can see this is completely winning for white. For black, everything's defended, and I'm just going to take all the pawns and I'm going to win. But I instead took this pawn, and I assumed this must be winning, right? I mean, I have 2 pawns on the 3rd rank. This must be winning, right? But no, actually, that's not the case. After he took my pawn, I pushed this one, and he went here, and guess what? I have nothing. I get nothing, and this is just a dead draw. And I went into this endgame here, where it's totally equal, like completely equal. There's no universe where this is winning for me or my opponent, but I actually ended up winning the game anyway, which is kind of crazy. Here I decided to play rook to d7. My idea was very simple. I didn't want him to checkmate. I don't know. I mean, there's nothing to do. He decided to bring his king to the game. I went for a check. He moved his king all the way back. And this is just completely equal. There's nothing here. And I decided to go here. And, yeah, now everything's kind of equal. He decided just to move the rook to the game. I mean, this is a blitz game, right? So what do you expect? Then I played this move, pawn h6, which I think is kind of instructive. You don't want to immediately go for a drawing pawn structure. Now my opponent decided to go for some random move, play rook to d5. And I played this move, rook to f7. I mean, there's nothing really to do here. He brought his king to the game, and I decided to give him a check. He blocked here with the rook, and obviously I don't want to trade rooks. That would be really bad. Probably just equal. I'm not actually sure, but I obviously didn't want to trade rooks. I went here. He really wanted to trade rooks because I guess he wants to draw, but I just decided not to do that. And if we ever trade rooks, it's just going to be equal since we have completely equal pawn structures. His is even better since he has the more advanced than I have. And after he brought his king to the game here, I decided to go for a check. And here, he made a blunder. Now, the engine here says it's fine, but low level stock just says this is a blunder. And that's king to d6, which actually gives up a pawn. This is why you should never resign, guys. Because now, my opponent has only one move, and he finds the right move, but I want you to find it. What is the only move for white in this position? The only move is f5. And I'm not even sure exactly why, but I guess the idea is that after I take, he takes, and this is an equal endgame somehow. And here, this is an equal endgame. So you guys can see, he decided to move his king this way, which is kind of odd. And I decided to bring my rook here. And here, he made the mistake of the game. And you can know that Capablanca was very good at endgames. Very good at endgames. Exceptionally good. And here, my opponent played a mistake, which obviously in this case you make mistakes. Rook h5, the big blunder. And now rook g6 just wins immediately, but I missed that. I played king d6 instead, attacking the rook. The rook went back all the way here, and now I just push. I just push forward. He brought his king forward. But I guess what? Like, I just brought my king forward. No, actually, I brought the pawn forward first. And there's not much you can do. He brought his king forward, and I just decided to bring my king. And I'm just completely winning. I'm winning because this king is not active at all. It's out of the game. I can just go here, block the king off, and then somehow win somewhere. I don't know exactly. But you get the idea, right? This is winning for me. And in this position, my opponent played this move, trying to block my pawn. And I simply win here, since if he takes me, I am my pawn is 2 winning. He moved the rook back, I moved my king up, and this is just simple. I just move my pawn up, move my rook up, and this is just easily winning. My opponent went here, and here, I move my king up. He went here, so my pawn's actually here, and I pushed, which is actually a blunder. And I want you guys to figure out why. Why is this a blunder? Because in this position, and this was a blitz game, so I didn't see it, but this is actually a blunder. And my opponent played king f5. And I am kind of in a zugzwang. I'm not in zugzwang, but I'm kind of in a zugzwang. Because all the moves that I can make here are bad. In one way or another. I can move my rook away, my pawn's hanging. I can move my pawn, so the rook moves away, then my pawn will be hanging. If I move my king, that doesn't do anything. So this is just a draw. It's a fortress, basically. My king needs to help out, but it's blocked by the rook. I can't make any progress at all. There's nothing I can do here. Nothing at all. I'm just dead. Like, I'm dead, right? So in the game, after h3, king f5, right? I decided to go here, which doesn't do anything at all. But here, my opponent makes the last blunder of the game and he resigns. And you guys are not going to find this move. It's an insanely garbage move. Rook f2. And he just gives it for free. So that's a really terrible way a game like this can end. It's like when you play the best game of your life and your opponent blunders a rook on f2. And obviously he resigned here. There's not much that he can do. And yeah, that was the game.